Today, let's get some more mileage out of your scales. I'm going to share some tricks to take the scale patterns you already know and get drastically different sounds from them with minimal effort. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to this episode of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and this is the podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitar player that you always wanted to be. If you are new here, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast and check out the description for all of the links from the show. We're going to look at some scale patterns today. I'm having a lot of fun hanging out, getting this prepared for you, getting a cool backing track ready to go. Scales. It all seems too much. Does it? Does it sound? For a lot of people, it does. All of the scale patterns, all of the keys, all of the positions. How are we supposed to handle that? How's one person supposed to keep all of that knowledge in their head and still have fun and still enjoy their time playing the guitar? You see, it's not really like that at all. That's just a first impression. There are ways of getting around all of that, keeping all of that knowledge in your head all the time. We use a combination of hacks, long-term memory hacks, and then also small adjustments to the scales we already know, so that all of us mere mortals, we can reap the benefits of all these scale patterns. So today, we're going to ease your stress from scales, and we're going to learn some easy techniques that can give us some really advanced results. To me, they're a lot of fun. They're endless. There's so much that you can do with them, so many melodies you can make. I mean, think about all the different songs. They're all using the same notes, same chords, right? So when we start playing scales, we just learn them up and down. And then that's fun for a while. And then you want to make them do something. That's when things get a little bit more difficult. And then you get kind of in a rut where you're playing the same things all the time. Well, the first trick that I show my students is sequences. These are the easiest of the shortcuts. With sequences, you don't have to make any adjustments or learn anything new. You take what you've already learned and do some things to it. So what our sequences is, it's the order that you play the notes in your scales. We can arrange them in little math equations, right? Not hard math. Don't get freaked out. Don't scare it. Sound familiar? I did the easiest one. Skipping notes. That was first and then the third, then the second and the fourth, and the third and the fifth. You can do stuff like this. Instead of jumping everyone, you can go up 3. 1, 2, 3, and then go back 1. Back 1. Back 1. Back 1. These are fun to play with, especially when you have a backing track. We'll pull one up in just a second. But you're thinking, okay, I understand melodies. We can use these sequences, but the more you use them, the more they sound like an exercise, right? Well, you're not supposed to use them all at the same time. So you might go. Did you hear it in there? That part right there. So I'm just doing a little I just use 2 or 3 different sequences, throwing it in there as part of the lick. It makes the lick sound thought out, even though it wasn't thought out. Now, I was kind of overdoing it. I wouldn't use them that much in a regular solo. I would use them a little bit more tastefully than that, but I'm trying to demonstrate these more. So sequences are something fun you could start with. How about starting on different notes of the scale? That's the next thing we're going to look at, right? So we have relative major and relative minor. If I'm playing in A minor right now, so if I'm playing A minor here, if I was to start on the C instead of the A, we're in our regular major scale. So the scale patterns, the A minor and the C major, they share the same notes. Totally. They're called the relative major and minor. C major, A minor. A minor, C major. So if I had a C note in the scale, I could use the same scale pattern, but I would use the C note for the strong note instead of the A note, and you get some really cool stuff. We're playing in minor today. What's another thing I could do to over this backing track that could make things sound pretty interesting? Well, we have something called the Dorian mode. Well, let's talk about modes. What are modes? Modes are different sounding scales that you get when you start on another note of the scale instead of the original tonic note. So what you've got is, say you got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That goes from C to C. There's your C major scale. But what would happen if you took those same notes, but instead of starting on C, you started on D, and you went D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. Now we'd still have the same amount of sharps and flats, which is none because we were using the key of C major. But when we start on D, that becomes a minor type sound, a minor type scale. It's pretty interesting when you know all of these major scales to be able to get 7 sounds out of that one scale pattern that you learned just by starting on a different note. And they've got some really neat sounds, and that's something that you can do. We're not going to get into modes today, but I'm going to show you some easy ways to get these sounds from the modes just from making 1 or 2 little changes to your major scale. Dorian mode here. That's the Dorian mode right there. Basically what it does is when you get to the minor scale, you get to the 6, it raises it, kind of like it's in a major scale, right? You hear that in the Allman Brothers a lot, and tons of different music. That note right there. So how you would normally do it with the modes is you'd figure out, okay, well, it's the second degree of the scale. What scale do I need to learn to be able to play the A Dorian scale? What would be G major? But that's a lot of thinking, and it's kind of backwards, and it takes you out of the moment when you're playing music. What I like to do is figure out, well, what's the difference? What's the difference between just a regular A minor scale and an A Dorian scale? Well, the only difference between the two is the 6th. The 6th is raised when it's an A Dorian scale. So why go through all the trouble of thinking G, the key, okay, now I'm in the key of G, but I'm playing in A, but it's Dorian. Well, I can just take the scale that I normally would play, the natural minor scale, and make that change. And now I've got the sound. I just need to know which note is the 6th. A, B, C, D, E, F. So in natural minor, it's the flat. It's the regular F. But in Dorian, it's F sharp. I'm going to play along to the backing track. And this time, instead of playing the F, I'm going to play the F sharp. And we'll hear what happens. Hear that? Here it is normal with regular A natural minor. Here it is with Dorian. Not a big change, but definitely you can feel it. There's some other sounds that we can get by making small changes to the minor scale. Here's what we had before. Here's the natural minor scale. 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, root. Now there's a scale called the harmonic minor. We use the harmonic minor for a lot of different things. My favorite is to use it over a 5 chord in minor to give it a really strong finishing sound. But we're not going to get into that today. What we're going to do is we're just going to learn how can I get that sound of harmonic minor without having to relearn all new scale patterns? Well, what's the difference? That's what I've got a natural minor. I know that. What can I do to change it to get harmonic minor? Well, we find that the difference between natural minor and harmonic minor is 1 fret on the 7th degree of the scale. Hear that? 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, raised 7, sharp 7. Neat sound. Let's hear what that sounds like over this chord progression. Pretty neat, huh? That's a cool sound. Definitely not something that stays hidden away. It pops out when you use it. You'll hear it in metal. Was it neoclassical metal? I think is what they called it. I don't know. It's a harmonic minor scale. And you hear it in Latin music. It's a really neat sound. But let's talk about some other stuff. What else can we get by changing a note? We've done the Dorian, which is the raised 6. We've done harmonic minor, which is the raised 7. What if we did both of those together? Let's hear what that sounds like. That's pretty cool. It's like the beginning is a minor scale and the end is a happy major scale. Hear the difference? Sad, happy. So just by taking those two changes and putting them together, we get something called the melodic minor. That had a different sound too, very distinct. It's a little tense when you get to that major over top of the minor in the second half of the scale. But hey, one little change and we've got drastically different sounds. Pretty neat stuff. The last thing I'm going to talk about today is adding chromatic notes. There's one place where we can add a note here or there and get a neat sound. So the one that most people know is the blues scale, right? It's the minor pentatonic scale, but adding the note in between the 4th and the 5th. So it's 1, flat 3, 4, sharp 4, or flat 5, depending on what you want to call it. 5, flat 7, 1. We added a note in between two notes that connect the two notes, but also add a little tension in it. Pretty cool stuff. There's another scale called the bebop scale. It's like a major scale. But at the end, did you hear that at the end? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, major 7, sharp 7 to the root. And that's pretty neat too. There we go. That's some different things that you can do to your scales. Next time that you're at home and you're practicing, you're playing your regular old major and minor scales. Here's some things you can add: the Dorian note in there, the raised 6. You can add the raised 7th to get the harmonic minor. You can add both of them in to get the melodic minor. You can do adding chromatic notes with the blues scale and the bebop scale. And then, there's always the minor third to major third too. There's the blues scale with a major to minor third. So here we go. Put them all together. 1, flat 3. That's minor third. Major third, raised 3. 4th, sharp 4th, 5, flat 7, 1. It's a lot of fun doing this. It's a lot of fun adding some other notes in there. Let's do something with the pentatonics. Let's go to let's do a little blues scale, right? But what I'd like to do is I'd like to add the minor third to the major third. When you're over 7th chord, it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like Johnny B. Good, right? But when you put them both together, the major third to the minor third to major third, and then the 4th, sharp 4th, 5, you get a big chromatic run. All those notes are in order. So you've got root, minor third, major third, 4th, sharp 4th, 5th, flat 7, root. Pretty neat. So you could get the sound, and then this. That was a lot of fun, showing you these little tips so you can get a lot of different sounds out of the scales that you already know. I'm going to go ahead and call it. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you have benefited from this podcast, please leave a favorable Apple Podcasts iTunes review. It is the best way to make sure we get this very valuable content to more guitar players around the world. And if more help, structure, and results in your guitar playing sound good to you, head over to the Academy. I'm over there hanging out in the chat. I want to say hi to you, and you can join the world's most exciting and carefully planned guitar system. And together, we will build your online home base for guitar. Thanks again. I'll see you on the next episode.